There is a space where you are all you need, where you are all you want. All there is here. Welcome to the Source Connection, conversations about who we truly are, the possibilities of creation and the new earth we are birthing, with your hosts, Tarah Long and Liz B.
Hello, hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to the Source Connection. You can sometimes, if you want, call me Tara, and you can call my co-host Liz if you'd like. We do answer to those names. So thank you for being here today. We're going to start with a few minutes of just being together. And let's see what happens. So let's just be present with the aliveness of this moment together. And you can relax if you'd like. You can sit or lie. You can close the eyes. Breathe. Just notice yourself breathing. And notice that when you bring awareness to the breath, it naturally begins to slow down and become deeper. And you begin to connect with that breath more and with your body more. So just feel your body. I want you to just get comfortable in your body. So yes, physically comfortable. Yes, of course, physically comfortable in the body. But also just coming home to the comfort that your body provides you. And if you're having challenges in the body or dis-ease in the body, that's okay. Just let it be there because we know it's doing everything for you. But find something that is really good, really comfortable, and really feels like home. And sink into that. And first we sink in the body, and then we can go deeper. Like we're sinking into the floor, the earth. Which is just an extension of our bodies, of nature. And then we can sink even deeper, where there is no space or form at all. That infinite place that we all are, that we all meet together. And let us just be here for a few moments. Connecting with your breath again. Bringing you back to this moment. And just isn't that so lovely to connect to yourself in that way, to give yourself that gift, that permission. And if we can do this every day, in the moments we have, how beautiful is that? I almost forgot that I was doing this for a moment when we I was like, oh yeah, I gotta come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Juicy goodness.
I had a brilliant idea while we were doing this.
Oh, good. Tell me.
I think we should, when we get Mike Weiner on our show, we should present the idea of a East Coast music and sky, and we should.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Isn't that is a good idea, right?
That is an amazing, scintillating idea. Really? Yes. You know what? I've thought of that too when I see all these things, music and sky and different things in California or whatever. I'm like, how can we have something like that here? Because there's definitely the space for it.
Yes.
In Tennessee especially, there's just so much space.
All right, universe.
Here we go. Here we go. All right.
Holly.
What's that?
This is from my friend Holly. Every time something happens that we're like,
yeah, that's good. Thumbs up for those of you listening. We're just thumbing a double thumbs up.
The universe starts to, the engine. Well, the engine's had already, otherwise it wouldn't be downloaded. So
yeah,
I'm
already started.
The universe is putting down, right? I'm like,
right. You're just pulling it in, like yeah. Yes, music and sky, East Coast, yeah, baby. There'd be so much interest. Okay, great.
It is done.
It is done. Yes. So we'll see you guys there. We'll let you know the details when they come out.
Oh, yeah. Is it all orchestrates itself?
Yeah.
Music and Sky East Coast. We had an idea to talk about nutrition and what is nutrition. And as we don't really do things by topic here, but we were having a conversation and we thought, what if we talked about nutrition? And, since we're here talking about new ways, not new ways, but ways of being and creating and relating in this new paradigm that is emerging, we thought, all right.
Yeah, let's talk about something that we all experience every day, right? Which is nutrition. And we talked about this before we recorded, but what nutrition is. And of course, the definitions are usually to do with food, nutrients, micronutrients and all of that in the body, which is part of it. But nutrition is also what nourishes you. What are you taking in, right? What are you allowing into your body, into your field, into your mind, into your heart? What are you allowing in? And so all of those things can nourish you or not, right? Yeah. So nutrition is wide and vast. And, we can talk about, I definitely want to talk about the food aspects here, but we can talk about, all of the other ways.
Why don't we start there?
Yeah, let's start there. Liz and I both have a lot of experience with different ways of eating. So yeah, I can go or you can go.
You can go. I'll just say that I am drinking a little cacao drink that I made. And my cacao that you gave me for my birthday is done. I was like,
it's done.
Oh no. So yeah, I need it.
New cacao.
New cacao. This is just a cacao drink with powdered cacao, but still delicious and still so inviting and heart opening and just all of the goodness of cacao. And maybe, that's one of the things that has been I guess, brought to our attention not too long ago. I think that it's one of those wisdom things, right? That was just kind of maybe not shared as much. And then all of a sudden people start to realize, wait a minute, there's something here.
Yes.
Been potent, and there's more. As we're talking about nutritional value, physical nutritional value, there is an energetic
Yes.
nourishment that comes from, I think, well sourced, let's put it that way, cacao, as with anything that we would put in our
Yeah,
body,
well sourced. Yeah.
and how is
Yeah.
it being cultivated. But yeah, if you have not tried ceremonial cacao,
Mhm.
highly recommend that.
Yeah, it is also delicious.
Yes.
Delicious tasting.
It's grounding, right? It's really earthy.
It's earthy.
You're eating, you're drinking the earth.
Yes. So you get the spirit of the plant that's been here for, however many thousands of years. So that's what's so lovely about plant medicine, even though I don't know if anyone would call that plant medicine, but it is really, any herb,
So
I think, is a plant medicine.
earth medicine, right?
It's earth medicine. Yeah, I'm drinking rooibos tea, which is, it comes from Africa, and it has a sweet, nutty flavor. Yeah. So, gosh, where do I start? Oh my gosh, I have eaten in every possible way, probably that one can imagine, and done all the cleanses of any kind, one time or another. No, I haven't tried everything, but I have tried a lot of things. And what I'll start with, for me, what all of that did for me, trying all those different ways of eating, the paleo, the vegetarian, the vegan, the meat, the blah, 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 just all of it, was that I developed a relationship with my body through that, of so now I guess I would call it intuitive eating. So I'm just eat what my body wants. And when we're connected with our bodies in that way, and I'm not saying it's perfect all the time and that, I'm always doing that. Sometimes I'm hungry and something's there and I eat that. But for the most part, it's very flowy and very intuitive. And I'm at the store and I kind of just buy what I'm drawn to buy. And sometimes I'll have a meal plan, of course, but yeah. So I remember being in acupuncture school, and I was vegetarian at the time, and my teacher, my nutrition. So I learned Chinese nutrition, which is really beautiful because it does flow with the earth and the elements and the properties of the food according to what your body is, and is your body have more heat or more cold, which organ systems and all of that. But one thing one sort of diagnosis, if you will, in Chinese medicine is blood deficiency, which means not that you don't have enough blood, but that your blood may not be nutritious enough for your body. It doesn't have all the ingredients, basically meaning iron, right? And so you can tell if someone is, I'm doing air quotes, blood deficient, right? Because these are labels, but they can be useful sometimes. You can tell if someone is blood deficient by the pallor, of their tongue. If it's pale, their nails, even under the eyes, if it's really pale, all of that. So my nutrition teacher at the time was like, Tara, would you please eat some meat? For God's sake, eat some meat here. Because I was like weak and frail and like trying to get all the things in my diet, trying to eat well as a vegetarian, trying to get all the. And so as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, yes, that feels so good. So I think even that day or the next day, I went out and I got beef, and I ate it. And my body just lit up like ding, felt it. And it was grounding and it was nourishing. It nourished me. And so that was my journey, my 2-year journey with being a vegetarian was that. And ever since I've eaten meat. And there's this whole blood type thing, which, you can take it or leave it, but I'm O positive, which I guess is the first blood type, which is carnivorous, meant to be carnivorous. And so I do really well. I do really well eating meat. I don't eat it every day or all the time, but I know when my body needs it or wants it, and then I eat it. But also I'm fine going vegetarian or vegan for, periods of time. It's just really whatever my body is telling me. And there's so many other things like, we can go cut to you, Liz, and we can just have a conversation about this. But because I know you've had a journey as well with all of that. But now, of course, I do my best to be really, really aware of the source of the meat, right? So it's not just any meat. It's and now that I'm working on the farm with all the animals, and I'm getting to know the sweet little cows and the pigs and all the chickens. It's funny. I don't really have a problem with the chicken. Like, yeah, I could still eat chicken, no problem, even though there's tons of chickens and I love them. But the cows are like, oh God, but I still, if the cows are treated well and the meat is good, and I know it is, I still don't have a problem eating it. But it has, shifted a little bit for me, and all the pigs that we have, and the pigs are so smart. The pigs are like, have the intelligence of a 3-year-old child, so they know all these words. I mean, they're just letting their little tails wag when you come up to them and say their name, and they're just so sweet. Yeah. So it is on my heart. Yeah.
I have a question. What prompted you to become a vegetarian at that time?
I think I had probably watched one of those documentaries about the
Earthlings.
Just the horridness of like the mainstream, meat production. And I was like, oh God, it's just, I can't, it just broke my heart. And I was just like, nope, I'm done. But now again, being more mindful about the sourcing and all of that is very important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, because I wanted to see if there was a moral compass, because it can be for so many different reasons that people choose a diet, right?
Yeah.
They're having health imbalances.
Yes.
And okay, maybe if I do this, it'll help bring my body, it'll help my body bring itself back to balance. Or I'm having this moral conflict about eating another being, or I mean, so many different things.
So many things.
Yeah, I've been a vegan for almost a decade now. And transition from being a pescatarian at that time, I would eat fish, like seafood every now and again. I didn't really eat a lot of meat to begin with throughout my life. My mom was a vegetarian most of her life. My dad ate everything. And so we had everything at home, but meat was never like something that settled well with me. Just digestively, it was like, I like to taste, and I really liked organ meats.
Oh, interesting. They're so nutritious.
I loved liver, and even like the heart, and
girl,
heart and cow's tongue. Have you had that before?
Oh no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it sounds disgusting, right?
It sounds disgusting.
So I love that growing up. I wouldn't eat all the time because we didn't have it all the time, but when we had it, I really remembered liking that. And I think the first time that I started to have like an intuitive, my own guidance in regards to the meat and all that was my aunt. I have an aunt. She used to live in the countryside, and we would go visit every vacation. We would rent a house right next to hers, and there was like a connecting doors. And I remember she used to make this chicken dish with this dark sauce, and I loved the chicken dish. And I remember asking her, like, once, I was just kind of like, what do you make? No, I remember what it was. I saw a little mug in the fridge with something that looked like blood in it. And I said, what is that in the fridge for? What is that blood? And she said, to make that dish you like. And I was like, oh, that was the sauce. It was the blood with like other things and spices, and it becomes dark sauce. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I can, and growing up with a mother who was very vocal about the moral compass of being a vegetarian, and the reason why she was a vegetarian, not only for health reasons, but also out of compassion for other life forms and all of that. I always had that in the back of my head. And so as I grew up and I moved out, I had a mostly like, lacto-ovo vegetarian diet for the most part. I'd eat chicken every now and again, meat if there was, but I never cooked meat or chicken, and I ate eggs, and I thought I could never be a vegan because I love cheese. I love it. And I can never be a vegan. Like that's just not a thing.
Not gonna happen, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I was like, I may be, like a lacto-ovo vegetarian or whatever. I didn't think much about it. It was just kind of how life was flowing and things were happening. And then I was mostly a pescatarian when I became pregnant. And I remember I was at Whole Foods and I was getting food from the hot bar and there was chicken and I saw it and I went, oh my God, like my whole body was just like, oh, I want that piece of chicken. It was like a little drum, right? Like a chicken thing.
Yeah. I
was just like, I remember calling my husband, oh my God, I want to eat the piece of chicken. I don't know what to do. And he was just like, eat it. And I was just like, but it was the whole conflict of just like that weirdness about, but I haven't eaten chicken in so long, and it's in all of that. And I said, okay, I'm going to eat this piece of chicken. And I remember I got that little piece of chicken with whatever else I wanted. I sat down, I ate it, and I was like, oh, wow, this felt really good. And then it happened another time during the pregnancy, and that was it. I craved mostly watermelon. That's what I wanted all pregnancy. I had one crave, was watermelon. And so as our child was born, when the introduction of solid food started, there was something going on with the gut process, and our pediatrician said, I'm going to need you because you're still the primary source of food through the breast milk. I'm going to need you to cut dairy, soy, processed sugar, wheat, and dairy, soy, processed sugar, wheat, or eggs. And I said, okay, of course. Then I cut it and I was like, I'm fine. I feel good. And I've always felt good. So I didn't have any, again, ailments or imbalances or anything that could be addressed by food that I would notice a difference. But then I watched a video of a guy playing with a fish. I said, oh my God, I could never eat fish again. I saw the clear consciousness of that being, that aliveness and that playfulness, that interaction. And so that was then I think the falling away for me of, the animals that I already wasn't eating. And then that just added to when I was still eating. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And it was just I didn't plan for that transition, but it just happened so naturally. And I felt so good that I was just like, I'm a vegan and, I don't eat wheat anymore and I don't do certain things. And then I reintroduced soy. And there's only certain kind of soy products I don't like that I can eat. Some are so processed that they don't do well for me. And so I think for me, is people getting educated first in what real food is, regardless of what your diet type. If you're eating something out of a package, it's most likely processed food that's not real, like food that's alive at the source. So regardless of what diet one chooses and all of that, like what is it that it's coming alive for you, and how can you, in whatever diet that you choose, pick the most nutritious, the most alive, the most life-giving.
Eat real food.
And when I talk about veganism, and some people are like, well, how do you do it? It's so expensive. And I go, I don't know what you mean. How is that expensive? Like if you're eating fruits, fresh veggies, fresh fruits. And one great thing about being vegan is that it kind of forces you to read packages, right? You have to read everything to make sure. And then you start really noticing a lot of the stuff that most of the food shelves are made out of. And you start really connecting with the poisons that are in the food and things that are allowed in food that are not, regardless of your diet, that no one should be eating.
No one should consume. Yeah. Seed oils. Whew.
And so I'm grateful for that aspect of just having to kind of, fine comb ingredients and really look. And being vegan doesn't mean being healthy necessarily, because a lot of people vegan is fine. There's a lot of processed vegan food and all of that. And so I think coming back to just wholeness, right?
Yes.
Wholeness of like, how fresh is it? How the more similar it can get to when you find it in nature.
Yes. I think the better. Yeah. And really cooking with, for me, cooking with spices, so many different spices we can cook with and herbs that flavor our food, instead of using sugar. And I still use salt too, but salt, pepper, but, just really whatever we can get, from the earth. And there's a balance. For me, it's definitely not, every meal that I'm cooking for myself and eating for myself, even though that is the ideal, because I also like to go out and enjoy a meal out and not be thinking about constantly what's in this, because I went through that phase too, where I was like, what's in it? What do I, and reading all the labels and doing all the things, which is good to do, but there's that balance, right, of not being obsessive and not, I remember, I think I talked about this before, even on this podcast, but in my early 20s, when I was in college and there was this whole low fat craze. Remember the low fat craze? And it was like, and I was eating so many packaged gross foods that were low fat. And I thought, oh, I'm doing great, horrible for like low, like fat-free cheese slices on, just the things I think about, like the lean cuisines and when I was young and I didn't know yet, all of that. So, and I wanted to say too, one thing that has recently come to my attention, which makes me sad is, so I don't do a lot of dairy. If I eat cheese, it's usually goat cheese, or I love goat cheese. I love the little goaties and I love the cheese they make for us. So I'll eat that. And I do have cheese sometimes. But so I've always done like milk alternatives, right? I've been through the gamut, right? It started with soy and then it went to like rice and then almond and then hemp, all these different things. And most recently, the past couple of years, I've loved oat milk because it's like, well, it's from oats. It's creamy. It tastes good. It's from oats. What could be so bad? Well, apparently, of course, you have to look at the what's in the oat milk, right? Because they can put a lot of extra stuff in there and additives. So you have to get the one that doesn't have the safflower oil and, all this stuff. However, we just saw this video. Jeremy just showed me this video of Oatly, which is our favorite, that they do not put on there that there's canola oil in it. But I guess they did testing or something. And they were like, that's in here. It's like so bad. Of course, canola, it's just, they were like, you're better off eating a donut from the gas station. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Oatly, now my precious Oatly. And so I've circled back around to, well, what is closest to nature? Raw milk, raw cow's milk, right? And there's plenty of dairy farmers around here, so I know we can find it. I haven't yet, but that is my next adventure of looking into, like, again, what is the closest I can get? So raw milk and the raw butter and the, all of those things, because we do organic ghee and butter and things like that. Yeah. But so that just, it doesn't matter, again, what your diet is, it's just get it as close to nature as you can and feel good about it. Feel good about what you're eating and where it comes from, because that'll make a big difference when it goes into your body.
Yeah, get in touch with how you feel when you eat certain things. Again, the whole connecting with your body. And so I think that we're going through a reclamation of the connection between our spirituality and our like physical aspect in this experience. And so it's not to deny one or the other, but how do we integrate? And the closer you get from, upgrading up here, whatever that means to you, also find the balance to ground and bring that heaven onto earth. What is that experience like? And what does it really feel like? And I think that sometimes having certain pieces of information helps you connect the dots. So I remember reading a book about sugar. It's called Sugar Blues. And I recommend everybody reading that book and understanding the history of processed sugar and what sugar does to your body. I'm not talking about fruit sugar.
No.
I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about processed sugar.
White sugar. Yes.
And just understanding that everything we're putting in has an interaction with our body. And what is that like? You talked about the oat milk, and I like to give our friends a quick recipe for oat milk. So you can do a simple oat milk at home. Some people talk about, oh, mine is slimy or whatever. The way you do that, first get organic oats, because oats are heavily pesticized.
Yes.
And maybe a cup of oat, and then let it soak overnight in some filtered water, whatever you use for our filtration system, not tap water. Hopefully everybody has some sort of filtration system.
Yes. We'll talk about that too.
Toxic debris and additions in the water system.
Yep.
So you soak it overnight. The next day you dump that water, rinse the oats in a strainer, and then blend it with start with 1.5, 2 cups of water, add a sprinkle of sea salt, and then some, vanilla extract if you like. And then just see how creamy you like it. Add more water, and just, it'll stay in the fridge for a few weeks. And it's clean. There's nothing else but oats and water and whatever little additions. You can put a little bit of cinnamon if you like. Spices, again, as you were talking about, using spices, using food as like, everything comes with its own gift, right? Spices, that beautiful gift of activating the fire, the coolness, the soothing inflammation, everything. And so learning things, if it could be intuitively, when you eat something, you feel something, and it, and sometimes adding that information will connect the dots from what you feel with the head, and it just integrates that whole system of what I talk about, the 3 brains, your head brain, your heart brain, your gut brain. And it's just that activation of like, oh, I feel a certain way because of this. And then it leads to act or receive a certain way, right? So I think bringing that piece in, and I also want to touch on the milk, like you were talking about. A lot of people, as we go through this reclamation of our own connection and our wellness in this meat suit, a lot of people are moving away from a certain kind of model, right, of how we've been kind of indoctrinated into being and what we put and not put in our bodies. So remembering also that the foods that you're eating sometimes are being put through those same processes. They're being injected with antibiotics and other things. So you are indirectly consuming that. So becoming more aware of that. And interestingly enough, a lot of people talk about not eating GMOs or not, doing that. But what other things are you putting into your body in the forms of, I'm quoting here, like adding air quotes, medicine, injections, or other things that have substances that you wouldn't eat. And so becoming aware of that as we are bringing it up here, like every level of nutrition in the body. So far, we've only touched on food, right? And we can broaden the scope. What are you reading? What are you ingesting visually? What are you listening to? That's all nutrition.
Yeah.
And it either fulfills you and uplifts life, or it takes from you.
Yeah. And there's no judgment here, as we talk about all of these things. Obviously, Liz and I, have very different, diets, but there's no judgment. There's no, like, if you're spiritual, you eat this way, because that's an old model. That's the old, slave self system and there's a lot of push in the agenda these days for veganism, right? But it's what are those products that are quote unquote vegan? What is the process they're going through? Where is it coming from? And do you want to eat, printed fake meat? Probably not, ever. Nobody does. So it's just being aware. And And I love how you talked about, just paying attention. How do you feel when you put something in your body? How do you feel when you eat something? How is that energetic substance interacting with you as an energetic being? Because it's all a dance, right? And if we're just clear enough to be aware enough to pay attention, and that's like not eating so fast also, and just sitting down with your meal and being grateful for it, even if it's for just a second before, I find that so sweet, just to thank the farmers and however this meal got in front of me, just to be grateful for that. And know that whatever's, even if I'm sitting in front of, a chocolate chip cookie, which happens occasionally, like blessing that and thinking that too, and knowing that and feeling good when I'm eating that, and not being like, oh, this is really bad. Where did it come from? What's all the, oh, there might be sugar in here, which again, the refined sugar, yes, I'm not a fan of the refined sugar at all. It does things in my body as well. And it does things in all of our bodies. But if you are going to eat something like a piece of chocolate cake, feel good about it. I mean, isn't it what TJ says, right? A happy donut's better than a sad salad.
I totally support that message.
Yes.
And let me just say something. It's 2022. There are so many yummy alternatives for sweets that are made with, better options nowadays. I have to give a shout out to my favorite chocolate honey mamas, and just the wholeness of it. And it's cacao and honey and coconut. And it's just really wholesome ingredients. And it fulfills that sweet taste without you feeling like you give something, right? Also rewriting the stories that we have with food, because we have that kind of power, right?
Yes.
I'm not denying the effect on the body, because you can feel it. But if you're going to eat it, like, all right, like go for it and
go for it. Be all in.
Just do it and own it, I think.
Yeah. And if you are eating something because emotionally eating something because you're wanting it to fill that place in you, wanting to fill some hole in you, be aware of that too. And you can still eat it, but just bring in awareness, like, oh, am I hungry? I just want this, because we're human, we're here in these bodies. It's okay to have a desire for, something sweet. And as Liz says, there's so many alternatives now. I know when I bake, which again is pretty rare, but when I do, it's, I have monk fruit sweetener and coconut sugar and honey, all these different maple syrup, all these things can be used. And once you stop the refined sugar, your taste changes. And like now I eat something like sweet that's with natural sweetener, and it is sweet enough. Like if I were to have something that had, actual sugar, and occasionally I do, and I'll have a bite and I'm like, whoa, like I couldn't eat any more of it because my taste is so cleansed or something,
Yeah, it just changes. And I think the desire also upgrades.
Yes.
Like, looking at my one time, I can't give up cheese. I look at cheese now and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And people are like, don't you want to eat it? I'm like, no. Like I'm not holding myself back. I'm not training myself. And I think that once you develop a relationship with food and you start connecting, right, what feels good, it's a natural progression to just really, it falls away what doesn't work for you. And you start to be, it's just clear, and there is no force that
there's no forcing. Yeah.
You're just kind of like, no, like, I'm good.
Because the forcing doesn't work. If you're like, okay, I'm going to make myself do this, even though I don't really want to, and I still have these emotional attachments or whatever, if that's not cleared yet and you force yourself, then there starts to be resentment and all these other things. So, but once you do it and you just develop that relationship, like Liz said, it's very natural falling away.
Very, very natural. Yeah. It's the same thing with what we decide to consume visually and auditorially, and like the places that we start to move towards, right? The people that we start to navigate, because we are this electrical force and we're communicating at all times. And so when you find yourself in an environment, are you being nourished by that environment? Is that really giving life to you, or do you feel depleted? Is it taken? And start being real with oneself, right? And start really noticing that, because that's our inner compass. And that was a lot of information right there. And as we've talked here many times, we've been conditioned to move away from that, because when you are connected, you are ungovernable.
Mm-hmm.
System likes control and likes that kind of oppressive. It has an oppressive nature because it has a hierarchy and it has other things. And so it's to me, I think what the reclamation that we're going through is really at every level, bringing the pieces back together, connecting them, and becoming this wholesome being that's not, well, I can be happy when I don't like my job, and I can be happy when I'm out of my job because it's just a job. Is that really how you want to live, right? How do we reclaim the pieces of ourselves, and again, the value of us through this authenticity? Because we all come with a different flavor and a different texture, like the flowers when you go out. You say you can even prefer a certain flower for whatever reason, but you say this one is prettier than that. Like you just, it's not.
You can't do it.
You know, like you feel the inclination to say, well, I like apples more than I like pears, but to say this one is better than it's just so, it's different.
How can you? And it's the same with us, and our bodies are all so different, and they need and want different things. So you cannot compare yourself to anybody else. And you can try diets that people might recommend, but you just have to take what works for you and leave the rest. And it's the same with all the things that go into our bodies and minds and souls, and
all of it. What kind of new cycle are you attached to? What are you what are you giving yourself to? I feel like that's really what's becoming clear, like that exchange, and what do you allow in, and what do you allow to project, to like invite in, right? So it's just that in every level that we are being called to really just become more and more aware.
And we do have, I mean, there are limitations to our awareness and attention in one day, right? We have the construct of time that we all agree to here. So time and also energy, and our bandwidth of consciousness in one day is what it is in one day. So what are you exchanging and engaging with and allowing?
Allowing. And then, as we know, being bodies of water, what are we photocopying? And then we're spreading out. Right? Because it's not to bury one's head in the sand, because we can learn from things. And the gift of discernment. We just had someone and we were talking about discerning, like a very deep level of discerning beyond the surface level of appearances. And again, it's just this deep reconnecting, this deep integration. I'm in the process now of reconnecting with my own sexual energy and the power of that creative force. And I heard something so beautiful that Kimamani was saying in the course that I'm taking now, and I would like for her to be a guest on our show. But she was talking about, our vaginas as being, it's the whole entity in and on itself. And your vagina left. And I was just like, I just love that idea of just like having this portal in our bodies, right? That it's just this beautiful, this big portal of, and how do we integrate that? Because we've been ashamed, and we've been conditioned, and we've been traumatized. Women, and as men too. I'm not going to get the men out of this, because I think as humans, we've been traumatized on so many levels, and we've been fragmented. And so this reclamation, here we are talking about nutrition. The question is, I think, that we leave everybody today with, what nourishes you? Right? Not on the superficial level of comfort, of numbing out, but what deeply nourishes you and brings you back to this state of aliveness, of openness, of softness, of invitation that we really are.
And this includes your relaxation time.
Yes.
Which you get to choose what that is. And it can be, and there are no rules, and there's no right and wrong, and there's no this or that. It's just, that is part, not just the active stuff, but also we need time to recharge, right? As beings of this earth, we need time to recharge, and what recharges you, what nourishes you in that time as well.
Yeah. Yesterday, we went for a walk on the beach, and I got there. The plan was to go on a walk at the beach.
Yeah.
I got there and I collapsed on the beach, and I just lay there for maybe an hour and a half. That's all I could do. And there was no phone. I wasn't listening to any talks. I wasn't doing, 'cause I feel like also sometimes feel like we're always like, okay, we need to level up, and we need to,
right. Yeah, that too.
And it's like, again, coming back to that connection, the next step, what the next right, in quotes, thing for you is. And so it was just a complete discharge and recharge. I just needed to lay there and let it do its thing. I was like, I have no power over this right now. My body's completely done. My body, my energetic body, my mental body. And I was just like, yeah. And when they were leaving to go on the walk, I was like, I didn't even see where I laid. I just literally, when I got to the thing, I sat down and I was like, here I am, and this is where I'm going to be.
Oh, yes. I love that.
Like, okay, I'm not in the middle of anything, right? I can just.
in the middle of some ecstatic dance party on the beach.
Right. Oh, and I was just like, just in complete surrender. So can we also give ourselves the opportunity to be held and be taken care of by silence, and just, the creek next to you, bathtub, if that's all you have right now, like the waters in your, can you be held and just go into deep quiet, just to be for a little bit.
Just to be, the tree in your backyard. I mean, whatever, anything, any piece of that. And it's almost always, the answer is almost always slow down.
Slow down. It's simple. Down enough, you can recognize that. Just walking barefoot. Go on a hike barefoot. I challenge everyone to go on a hike. People are like, well, but then you're going to step. It makes you more mindful. It helps you slow down. And all of a sudden, you're one with that element that the shoes keep you disconnected from.
Yeah.
And so it's in simple tasks and observations and things that we, can just take a moment before you start cooking. Just stand there in Tadasana mountain pose and just ground yourself, spread your toes, feel the balance of the four corners of your feet. How am I connected right now? How am I present right now? So to me, presence should be able to slow down enough, right, to just be in every moment. It's been the most nourishment that I can get from anything.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. So what nourishes you? Let us know. You can email us at thesourceconnection@protonmail.com or leave a note for us here. We'd absolutely love hearing from you. So thank you. We'll see you next time.